colleagues on stage, other party leaders, comrades and friends. I want, on behalf of the People's Progressive Party, to thank all of you for being here today. Babujan has become a very important place for us. Not only because our founding father was interred here, and Comrade Janet here too, but because it allows us an opportunity every single year to chronicle the political developments in our country for the previous year, as well as to remind ourselves and all of Guyana about the People's Progressive Party and its significance in the historical changes in our country. And so, this is absolutely necessary, particularly in a period when we have tons of people who serve to revise the political and economic history of Guyana. And I've spoken about this before, where the villains now become the heroes, and the heroes of our history become the villains. And if we do not remember our own history, if we are not aware of our achievements and what we stand for, then we ourselves would never be able to recognize the wonderful party that the People's Progressive Party is, and that Cheddi Jagan bequeathed to us. And so, if you only do a cursory glance and take a cursory walk through that history, you will see at every stage, every juncture of our development, that the PPP has been on the right side of history, always on the side of the people, always on the side of progress, always on the side of development. From the early year when the party was formed, it was the first political party in Guyana, pro-working class party, to give an organized expression to the struggles of the people of Guyana for independence and dignity. And once that party was formed, its prevailing ideology was worked out quickly, that it must be pro-Guyanese, pro-national, and that it is a party for all of Guyana, which is what we are today. A party that does not see people's racial differences, nor their religious differences or their gender. A party for everyone, rich and poor, should find a place in our party, but our agenda must be a pro-working class agenda. And so, equipped with that ideology, equipped with that vision that Cheddi Jagan left us, we started off the very first struggle. The right to vote for all Guyanese was fought for and won in 1953, led by the People's Progressive Party. And although we were not independent at that time, because we were still under colonial rule, you can trace the advances in civil rights, in political rights, in opportunities for people. Many of you today in Berbice are beneficiaries of the development that took place in the early years of the PPP government with the Black Bush Polder scheme and many others across the country. The University of Guyana was started under the PPP, the Guyana School of Agriculture. All of this took place in a period when we were still under colonial rule but had internal self-governance led by Cheddi Jagan. Because people who look like us, the natives of Guyana, Amerindians, Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, and the other races in our own country, we did not enjoy the rights as equal citizens in that period. And it was the PPP that fought for this. And throughout those dark days, when the democracy was snatched away from us, and when the government behaved with impunity, when people were jailed for what they ate or what they say, there was no freedom of expression. People could not eat food products and go to bed at night. They became criminals because of an unjust governmental law. When half of our country had to flee Guyana because of discrimination and lack of opportunities, it was the PPP fighting to return democracy to Guyana again in that period. And we led it, and it was a long struggle. And we were patient, and we explored every means possible. But at the end of the day, as we knew, and then and as we know now, that you cannot suppress the will of the people for very long. They will ultimately prevail. And so as we won in 1992 and subsequently in several elections, in a few months' time we'll win again and continue to take this country forward. So we led that struggle, and the rebuilding process started. We took a bankrupt country and made it into the fastest growing economy in this hemisphere and across the world. We took institutions of governance that protect people's civil and political rights and strengthened them, and right now they're on decay again. We took those. We started expanding the infrastructure. We started building schools and health centers, creating more jobs so that people could have hope and opportunity right here in our country. And we did it all without oil money, and we did it in spite of the legacy that they left us, a legacy of bankruptcy and debt and despair. We did it all because of solid management, again, equipped with an ideology, a philosophy that focuses on people and their well-being. We did it in those days. And now, in 4 short years, all the gains that we have made, democratic gains, gains in terms of freedom, on the economic side, on the social side, suddenly, in 4 short years of this government, they're being reversed at a rapid pace, because this government, no matter how much money you give them, no matter how many taxes they collect, how much taxes they collect, no matter all the resources in the world, their governing philosophy is focused on corruption, venality, extravagance, and on consumption, not on a base of wealth creation and expansion of welfare for people. So as they stay longer in office, and if they stay longer in office, oil money or no oil money, this country will be led to ruin. We've seen it happen in many parts of the world where they have similar governing philosophies like the one that this government practices. Right here in Venezuela, we have seen it. We've seen it in many parts. Trinidad is experiencing the same thing. Many parts in Asia and Africa. Tons of oil money, and people are poorer than before they had oil because of the loss of welfare. And you see it again here. We are going to get 1,000 jobs from the oil sector, but we have lost 37,000 jobs already because of their policies. And we're going to get 300 million per year in revenue. And we have lost over 300 million per year because of the loss of exports and economic activities. So we're not going to be moving forward. We're going to be going backwards. And this is why it is vital that we ensure all Guyanese, people of every race, every religion, people who didn't even vote for us in the past elections, that they join with us to get rid of this decrepit cabal that runs our country now. Comrades, Much has been said about the no confidence motion. And you're aware of it all. And what is shocking for them, I think they're still in a state of shock because they were supremely confident. They were almost exuberant with the same kind of attitude of bullyism. They were flouncing it and flaunting it in the parliament. You remember that day. Oh, 33 is greater than 32, and you will always stay in the opposition benches, etc. And when and when it hit them, they were shocked, because, and then what did they do? They said that Charandas is a Judas. So imagine Ramjatan and Nagamutu calling Charandas a Judas. Charandas lives in Kanji. Charandas used to campaign with the AFC. He walked through Kanji and helped them to make many of the promises that they told the people in Berbice and across the country in the world, across the country. And what were those promises? Better life, more jobs, better health care, sugar industry will be booming, rice industry would get help. And then they failed on every count. They did not fulfill any of their promises. And Charandas has to play domino every single day, was playing in that community. And I'm sure that he saw the sugar workers who once had a job, who used to go on that truck and go to work in the morning full of confidence that they, at the end of the month they will bring home salary to take care of their families, the men and women who go to work there, and that they can buy food and put it on their table and feed their children and send them to school. That this government, in the guise of Nagamutu, on a day when they were celebrating the Rose Hall Martyrs Day, they sent him to bring the sad news to that community that they were going to close the Kanji estate as they did elsewhere. Who is the Judas? Who is the Judas? Who are the bigger Judases in Guyana? They betrayed all of the people of the country. Charandas looks like a patriot compared to these Judases, because he saw what the failed promises had wrought, the hardships it had wrought on the lives of the people who live in that community. And these two Judases and many others, in fact, it's a government of Judases, because they promised the Amerindians to accelerate land title and they failed them. So Sidney Alicock is a Judas too. And they promised to him bring jobs in Linden and many parts of the country. So Granger is a Judas too. All of them are Judases. They failed the people of Guyana. And Charandas should get a national award from Granger for keeping his word. These people, comrades, so they, after the shock was over, they then tried to reverse all that Sam and the others told you, that after initial acceptance. And they argued that it's business as usual. But for them, business as usual means stealing, spending on themselves, etc. So it's business as usual in the government. But it can't be business as usual when you tried twice to get the speaker to reverse the effect of the ruling and he refused to do so. When you go to the court And the Chief Justice says that this government the cabinet stood resigned as of December 21st, and that the government cannot stay in office more than 3 months, according to Article 106(7) of the Constitution. And the Chief Justice declared that the no confidence motion was validly passed. It cannot be business as usual. And particularly when the bill that amended Article 106 says that the government shall resign but stay in office only for the purpose of holding elections. So it can't be business as usual. So everything that they have done after the 21st would be illegal. But guess what they're doing? They're busy handing out contracts to themselves and their cronies. Tons and tons of it. They've changed even the procurement laws to allow themselves huge opportunities for continued thievery in the government. They're giving their cronies large acreages of land. Right here in Berbice at Skeldon, they gave 4 of them 1,297 acres. Right here in Berbice. This is what is happening now. It's a large-scale theft of resources. Secondly, they are buying vehicles. Imagine you faced with a no confidence motion and all of the ruling, and they're buying 12 new vehicles for the office of the president. This is what they want to stay in office to do, to continue to feed off of us, to continue to steal and fill their pockets. But I know also that they're preparing for exit. Nagamutu can't use all the sirens soon. So guess what he did? Through accelerated procedure, he recently used his duty-free to buy a fortune of, because he knows that he gotta go back to get out of the house on Main Street and go back to where he lives very soon. And he can't fetch his state asset with him. And I want to warn them that when the PPP gets back in office, as I said before, all that they have done after the 21st of December will be reviewed. And you know, they used to say in the last elections, they're going to throw us in jail. Well, many of them will be in jail in the future because of actual corruption. Not rumors of corruption, actual corruption. And that is a big fear of theirs too. They have 2 massive fears. One is when they go around the country, they find that they're not getting support. Look at the local government elections right across Guyana. People in strongholds, in APNU strongholds. We won the elections. We won in Letem, where we didn't win before. We won in Mabaruma. We increased our votes by over 60% in Bartica. We moved from 2 to 7 seats in Georgetown. That caused Valder Lawrence to panic and said they put people like you and 2 like Jagdeo, who look like Jagdeo. You remember her infamous speech. That is it. Right across Ghana, we won over 60% of the votes. We got 47,000 votes more than APNU and AFC combined in the local government elections. And now they're very fearful, because when they go out on the ground, people say to them, where were you in the past 4 years? Now you're giving us house lot, some allocation for a house lot, a little slip of paper to collect it. It's a paper, because they didn't produce the house lot as yet. They didn't do 1,000 new house lots in 4 years. So they're hoping they can mislead people again. Suddenly, they're calling people to get birth certificates. So Afro-Guyanese, when they needed their help, many of them, including party supporters, the vendors, the farmers, people in Linden, they wouldn't help them. They wouldn't go out in the past 4 years because they had arrived. Suddenly, they become a vote bank. So Valda Lawrence and the others now call people to give them a birth certificate because they're vote banks. Their concerns didn't matter for 4 years. But they get the feel on the ground. They know what is staring them in the face. And that is a massive defeat at the upcoming polls. A massive defeat. So this would not work. The new promises of being good boys will not work, because assuming a miracle happens and they win the elections, you think Granger would suddenly be infested with a vision for Guyana? A visionless man? You think Granger going to come out the State House to walk again among people? No. You think some of them would be less corrupt? In fact, more corrupt. You think not a term could solve the incompetence in that geriatric cabal? So, nothing. They can't offer us anything. Let me tell you by contrast what we offer. We offer Irfan Ali, 38 years old, who in the last 2 months have done more work. Who have done more work in 2 months than Granger in 4 years, meeting people and talking to them. We offer a solid program and a track record under the PPP, a track record of progress and development and inclusion, and 50,000 new house lots in the future and 50,000 new jobs. We're going to reverse, you read the flyer, reverse the taxes on water, on electricity, on medicine, so that people can have lower cost of living here in Berbice. The people even look at their bills. They bring their bills all the time. And you see an escalation because they've increased the cost of water and put taxes on them. We promised to reverse the taxes for the farmers. This is even before our manifesto has come out. And for the miners and many other groups in Guyana, we have already promised to restore the grant to the kids and to restore the water subsidy for the pensioners. That's what we are promising. They're taking away from you, and the PPP is looking to give people back, to cut the taxes that they have to pay, because this country can only be managed with a program and a vision, and with competent younger people also working with older people. And that's what we are offering right here. And Irfan Ali has delivered in a practical way, managing one of the biggest ministries. He is a person who understands economics. The challenges of the future would be mainly economic challenges. So when you compare us with what they're offering, they know that. They know that we're vastly superior in terms of a track record, and that we are attractive to many people, including people who voted APNU and AFC the last elections. They're coming to us and they have a home in our party too, and we must welcome them with open arms. One young black kid said to me, "I feel ashamed." And I said to him, "Why are you ashamed? Did you lie to the people of Guyana? It is this cabal that lied to them. You shouldn't be ashamed, because you are a bright young person. You're not getting opportunity from this cabal. That this group up there should be the ones ashamed. Granger and Nagamotu and Ramjatan, they're the ones should be ashamed of what they have done to our country, not the kids." And I said that to him because sometimes people believe when we criticize Granger and this cabal that we're criticizing people who voted for them. Many of those people genuinely felt that they will give youth an opportunity. They promised free education. They increased the fees at the university, harassing people who have arrears to the student loan program. They've just ignored young people totally. They have practiced exclusion. So people must not feel that way in Guyana. And as I said before, consistent with our ideology, consistent with what the PPP stands for, that we want people to join the party. We are working harder to get more women into our party because that's important, and I hope that the women here will not just be supporters, but will join the party. And also more Afro-Guyanese, because we can become invincible force in Guyana, a force for good. Now, comrades, the excuses they're making. So this country is held up by five persons. 5 persons who are over their 70s who don't care much about Guyana. We have 3 of them as APNU commissioners, 3 Trotman, Charles Corbin, and Vincent Alexander, an 85-year-old chairman, and Granger. 5 of them have been holding up Guyana and the future for all of our people. So when I assess this situation, I try to think about it. Is it that Granger is a weak, ineffective, ineffectual leader? Or is it part of Granger's plan to seem weak so that he can reveal, as many people suspect, that he has an undemocratic nature? So sometimes I wonder, when I go to the meetings, Granger will walk with 10 or 9 people, useless people on both sides, Nagamutu and all of the others. And then he says something and he says, I want them to share their views. They have no standing there whatsoever to share their views. So I think he's either can't break out of that cabal, that they have him so much enwrapped in their circle because he's a weak leader, or he brings them there to say, it's not me, look at their opinion there. And then again, as leader, he has a constitutional duty to talk to the chairman of GCOM. So they invited the whole commission, and then he brought the entourage again. And all of them said to the commissioners, we want house-to-house registration. And then he says, we have to have house-to-house registration. So he's hiding behind this group of people. Now, they were trying to pressure the commissioners to do so. But we're not going to accept that. We're not accepting any delay in the elections. Let me make it clear, if you're going to house-to-house registration until 2020, the People's Progressive Party will never go back to the parliament to extend the life of this government. And they need us to extend the life of the government, or else the government becomes illegal, unconstitutional, with all the attendant consequences that we'll talk about in a moment. They need us badly. Hear what Nagamutu said. Oh, this thing is a joint thing. It's not only we need the PPP to vote in parliament, they need us too, as though we will become unconstitutional. This guy is a clown. Yeah, total clown. It's a comedy show. Every day I watch them on TV. You know, when this is all over, when we win the elections and he finally starts working as president and we get things going, I'm going to write Comedy Central and send them all of this footage to produce a show for Guyana. But behind all of this comedy is a tragedy. Is a tragedy behind the comedy. And the tragedy is they're trying to snatch your rights away. That is what they're doing. This Constitution is the supreme law of Guyana. If your government cannot respect and abide by the Constitution, by a ruling of the court, how will they respect any other rights of any citizen in this country? That is the tragedy here. And we need to mount the pressure on them. It must go in stages. So in Berbice here, be prepared, because one thing that they know about the PPP, they think we're ineffectual because they know the PPP will never run down the street and get our supporters to burn people's property. That the PPP will never urge people to beat up people in the street and create a crisis. And I heard one diplomat saying, oh, the country seems to be accepting this so well. And I had to say to that diplomat, it's accepting it. You see the peace and calm in Guyana now because of the nature of the People's Progressive Party. Not because the people of Guyana are not concerned about the issues. So they seem to want burning and beating on the street and violence before that person thinks it's a serious issue. But we're not going to go down that route. We have already started to discuss this with the international community. When this government says there is no constitutional crisis, today in the Observer in Jamaica, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Bruce Golding, speaks about the constitutional crisis in Guyana, the looming constitutional crisis. And CARICOM, it will be a test of CARICOM because they intervened in the past. You remember in the Janet era, and we had the St. Lucia Accord. And so it will be a test of the Caribbean region, and particularly CARICOM. It will be a test of the European Union because they had suspended disbursements in Guyana, although Ramatar had only prorogued the parliament for a few months, only a few months, and it was purely constitutional. But now we have a situation with an unconstitutional government. Therefore, there has to be sanctions on Guyana if they're going to be consistent. We've seen a lot of people talk about democracy in Venezuela. So we are expecting after March 21st, the international community will pay the same serious attention to Guyana as they have done abroad. And we are calling on them not to recognize the Granger government after March 21st. We have already made it clear that we are not going to recognize any agreement that they signed. We said this to the international community, to the diplomats. We've said it to the private sector. We've said it to civil society. We said it to the oil companies, that any agreement struck by this government after that period would be illegal because it would be unconstitutional. We made it clear that the ministers and the others who use state resources for travel and for other things in office, that they can face personal liability, criminal liability in the future, or at least civil liabilities where we will recover the money against their pension or surcharge them or take legal action. We are going to, here in Berbice and right across Guyana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country. We're going to get teams of people to picket them everywhere in their homes and their offices, everywhere else, like they did to us in the past unfairly. We're going to do that. When they come here, we might have to take to the streets peacefully all the people in Berbice, Kanji, and Rose Hall, and Corriverton, and everywhere else, and New Amsterdam. We all have to come out on the street because we are not fighting for PPP here. We're not fighting for Irfan Ali or Bharrat Jagdeo. You're fighting for yourselves and all of Guyana. All of Guyana. Therefore, this is not a political issue because no citizen of the country should tolerate a disrespect for our Constitution. That is what we have to do. We have to make sure that we treat them the way they deserve to be treated, because they're going to try to hang on with impunity. They manage with impunity. They're going to behave with impunity. Like how they said, it's business as usual. Basil Williams saying the Constitution is wrong. That's more buffoonery than impunity. Sorry. That's buffoonies, because he is joined the comedy gang too. But the impunity, people will do that with impunity. They'll hang on because they know there will be no violence on our part. But the security forces and all of the others, all the public servants, etc., need to know that they will be cooperating with an unconstitutional government. They're patriots too. I'm sure many of them are worried about this. That is what we have to do. And we have to, there's one remedy to impunity: consequences. And they must feel that they will suffer consequences in the future for violating our Constitution. And that will happen in the future. I can assure you this, because too long we have allowed people in this country to get away with murder. They spread racism every single day. They've dug up all the old rumors about the PPP and spreading it again, particularly in the Afro-Guyanese communities, because they didn't do a single thing for those communities too. Not the young people there, not jobs, not any welfare. They're suffering. Now they started digging up the rumors once again. PPP killed Afro-Guyanese, PPP is racist, etc. We must fight this. All of us must fight this aggressively. On the internet, let's fight the racism. Every one of you should be blogging. But do not do what they do, because we are trying to unify the country. Do not do what they do, where they call people the vilest and most racist names. We have enough of a track record and achievement to fight off anything, and explanations to fight off everything. So we need to do this. I called on the Ethnic Relations Commission to take prosecutorial action against people who spread racism, because that's the only tool that they will use to try to polarize our people once again, and we must fight this. Every Guyanese must feel included in our vision, wherever they live, on the coast or the hinterland or in Region 10. They must see themselves in our plans, and they will see this because our manifesto is being produced through a consultative process. All the children of Guyana must make progress. All of our people must make progress. The oil and gas must benefit all of our people, not this corrupt cabal that tried to steal the first $18 million that we received. Not this corrupt cabal. This is what people in Guyana must understand. And if you help to spread that, then they will not succeed in spreading the rumors again about us, spreading rumors, and they will not succeed in dividing our people along ethnic lines as they have done in the past. You have a role, every one of you, to do this. You also have a role to help to make sure that the party gets ready. We're ready. We're working on candidates now. We almost have our list. But every one of you have to ensure that in every home, in every village, that we walk to every single one of those families and get them ready. You have to help out and get them mobilized to come out on election day. It's a task for all of us. We have to get polling agents, strong polling agents, because they will try to rig, they will try to do anything to stay in power, but because they're desperate now, they don't have the support. So comrades, I want to assure you that our party will work very hard to ensure that they comply with the Constitution. But let me tell you something. They're operating under this illusion that the longer they stay, they can spend up all the money, steal quite a big bit of it, but make some new promises that will fool more people like they did in 2015, and that those people will vote for them, and that things will improve in Guyana. Well, trust me, they're living with that illusion, because the reality is that things will get worse. When you have an unconstitutional government in place, it affects investments, jobs, well-being, everything else. So they're deluding themselves, and that will harm them even more as they try to hang on. So we have to be patient, because we're not a violent party. We have to be patient but firm, strong and ready. All of you have to be part of this plan. And we have to be mobilized whenever it comes, and it will come, and we'll push them. They can't run forever. They can't hide forever. And when we catch them, you know what we're going to do. Impose one of the biggest defeats they've ever had in the history of this country. Because people have seen them now. You've seen this cabal, that it cares nothing about Guyana. It doesn't care anything even about its own supporters if they're poor, because they're class-based. They judge people on the basis of race and class, and therefore they are going to suffer the consequences. So do not get too excited. Don't get too, of course excitement is good, because it keeps us bubbling and stuff like that. But we are going to catch them. We're going to catch them. They'll try to hang on a little bit longer, and they're going to be punished for it, because things will get worse, and they can get a bigger defeat. So once again, let me thank you all. Cheddi Jagan waged a struggle for 28 years in difficult circumstances to return freedom to Guyana. It's 4 years now. We can return it faster. We can return it faster, because people now are more educated. 2, their children are educated. 3, they have more means of communication. 4, they can get involved in the fight using social media. They're not fearful now of this government. That's 5. And therefore, we can play a part in returning our country to the future. Let me say that we are working to involve everyone. The party's approach is the Big Tent strategy. We want to come back with civil society. We want to work with our international partners. We want to work with everyone. And we held out a hand to APNU after the no confidence motion. But with this cabal and their track record, they're just not interested in it. So we have to work to defeat them and then still include them. Thank you very much, comrades. Long live Cheddi Jagan.